Freedom from want everywhere in the world. On this 12th day of May, 2012, the Franklin D. Roosevelt Freedom from Want Medal is awarded to Ela Ramesh Bhatt. Justice and compassion have been your driving forces in your life. Born in the historic city of Ahmedabad, where Mahatma Gandhi carried out his first fast in support of the city's striking textile workers. You were raised in a home where respect for the law, empathy for the poor, and the need to work to promote equal rights for women were ingrained in your spirit. The daughter and granddaughter of respected attorneys, after obtaining a Bachelor of Arts degree in English, you went on to study law at Sir L.A. Shaw Law College, and you earned your degree and a gold medal for your outstanding work in Hindu law in 1954. Shortly thereafter, you accepted a position in the legal department of the Textile Labor Association, or TLA as it is known. India's first and oldest trade union, born, like you, in Ahmedabad, out of the very textile strike that Gandhi supported in 1917. After your marriage and the birth of your two children, Ami, who is here with us today, and her brother Mihir, and a brief sojourn at home where you raised your children, you returned to professional life in 1961 to take up a position in the labor ministry in Gujarat. And you worked for a time on labor and employment issues at Gujarat University and in New Delhi. But then in 1968, you returned to the Textile Labor Association and became the head of its women's wing. It was here that you discovered some of the pitfalls of progress. The TLA had always had a large contingent of women members, but changes in technology led to a vast reduction in the number of workers employed in textile factories. This was especially true for women. Desperate to help their families, however, you soon noticed that the unemployed women of Ahmedabad had never stopped working. They had worked as self-employed junksmiths, garment makers, vegetable vendors, hand cart pullers, and in other tasks. The more you looked, the more you realized that these self-employed women formed a critical part of India's economy, and yet they had no legal status or protection and were not even recognized by the state as actual workers. You soon decided that this injustice had to be rectified, and in 1972, you decided to found the Self-Employed Women's Association, or SEWA, in cooperation with the women's wing of the TLA. At first, the government refused to recognize the SEWA, arguing that only those who were employed by someone else could form a union. But you categorically rejected this assertion, insisting that the SEWA was justified for economic development reasons and for the protection of its members from exploitation by those who employed the women to carry out various tasks. The creation of SEWA was a huge step forward. For the first time in India's history, the multitude of self-employed women had an organization dedicated to their right to a living wage, a modicum of health care, insurance, and other benefits. These were admirable accomplishments, but your work with women soon led to the realization that these achievements were not enough. As self-employed entrepreneurs, these women also needed access to financial capital. As one member put it, if we can have a union, why can't we have a bank? Never one to give up on a good idea, you heartily agreed, and in 1973, the SEWA Women's Cooperative Bank was formed. Today, the SEWA has nearly 1 million members organized in 70 different trade cooperatives. Moreover, the SEWA Bank has assets of over $4 million, makes microloans to thousands of women who want to expand their business and improve the lives of their families. Equally important, the SEWA helps build and sustain communities by stressing the importance of local produce, local products, and local labor, by recognizing the age-old organic link between producers and consumers living and working side by side. Your determination to provide the self-employed women of India with the dignity of recognition, with a life free from want and despair, stands as an inspiration to us all. And for this, we are all deeply grateful. Nicholas Roosevelt, will you join me, please?
Your Majesty, Your Royal Highness, Mr. Prime Minister, Excellencies, distinguished laureates and friends, I am honored and humbled to receive the Freedom from Want Award for 2012 that I accept on behalf of the women of the Self-Employed Women's Association and sisters across the globe who live in poverty and want, but face them with courage and dignity, with self-reliance and hard work. President Roosevelt's vision of a world without fear and without want, a world where there is freedom of speech and freedom of worship, unfortunately, still remains a vision. Mahatma Gandhi said, political freedom is incomplete without economic freedom. He was right. It is only when people have both that they can begin to build a free, just, and peaceful society. But today, our world is in a critical state of imbalance. The farmers who till the land and feed the world themselves go hungry. Countries that have the most abundant natural resources are among the poorest. The working poor are the backbone of every nation's economy, and yet they go hungry. What is poverty? What is poverty but a society's disrespect for human labor? Poverty is a form of violence with the consent of the society. Poverty strips a person of his or her humanity, and poverty takes away their freedom. Nothing that comprises a person's humanity should be acceptable. Peace is about restoring balance in society. We have not addressed simple human needs like food and water and shelter for all. Even though we are exhausting our natural resources at an alarming rate, we assume a technology will solve our problems. But we forget that if technology creates imbalances, it is not a solution. It is time to reconsider our approach. After all, one cannot solve problems with the same thinking that brought us these problems in the first place. If profit is our only measure of success, we will turn a blind eye to the exploitation of people and nature. So long as our goal is limited only to maximizing production and consumption, we are embracing with imbalance and inequality and perpetuating a world full of wants. But if our goal is to build a society where the full potential of every human being is realized, we will need a radically different approach. We will need to get in partnership with our conscience, we will need to get in partnership with all fellow human beings, and we will need a long-term partnership with Mother Earth. So, what's the alternative? Mahatma Gandhi saw the village economy as the key to nation building. He believed that by closing the distance between producers and consumers, by meeting local needs with local skills, one strengthens the economy, one strengthens the community, and one lays the foundation for a society that is fair and equitable because it is accountable at every level. I consider women's participation and representation an integral part of the development process. Women can bring constructive, creative, and sustainable solutions to the world. At the same time, work is the thread that binds a society together. When I visit troubled areas, where it is in the slums of India or violence-ravaged Afghanistan or the West Bank, the people I meet have one basic request. They ask for work, W-O-R-K, work, productive work. No matter how miserable their condition, as victims of hunger or violence or natural disasters, they don't want charity. They want work that will sustain their families, give them stability, allow them to build assets that reduce vulnerability, and help them plan for a future. Decent work is not found in sweatshops or special economic zones. Only meaningful work builds roots and gives meaning and dignity to one's life. My own vision is of a society where 6 of our primary needs, our daily staple food, shelter, clothing, primary education, primary health service, and primary banking, can be found within 100 miles around. We need to address 3 fundamental issues of creating livelihoods, building the local economy, and feeding the world. Finally, when the world committed to the Millennium Development Goals, we are in fact pledging to become partners with the poor. Let us place the development goals squarely in the center of our national plans and the national budget. Furthermore, let us make sure that fulfillment of the Millennium Development Goals are on the UN agenda in its every peace-building process. They are powerful tools with which to build peace within and between nations. President Roosevelt was prophetic in his call for the 4 freedoms. After all, ceasefire is just the end of war. It is not peace. It is work, food, and shelter that are the true elements of peace. Thank you very much.